All right, what a weird day already, huh? We have to start off talking about the snow because that was kind of fun. While it lasted, most of it is melting off, and we forgot about snow here in the south. But there are no travel problems that have been reported anywhere. Just wet. It was too warm, and I thought it was too warm when it first started falling. I thought there's no way that's going to stick because it was in the. I think the ground temperature was close to 40 degrees, but it came down so fast uh, it eventually started sticking. And I'll be honest with you, AJ, I went inside my barn building and was doing some work in here. And I mean, I walked out 30 minutes later and there were 2 inches of snow on the ground. It was crazy. Did y'all get a bunch around there or at your house?
Yeah, I had to take my daughter to her doctor's appointment. That's when it started around 9ish,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Well, it was just enough to be pretty, and we took some good pictures, and now it's just about all melted off. It will start warming up, and we don't really get back into the 70s till Thursday. I saw one forecast where it may be really hot by this weekend. That's just spring, but I don't know if I've ever seen. I know, we had the blizzard of '93 back in, the anniversary for that was just last weekend, last Friday. And so, yeah, it does snow this late. And AJ and I both remember, and I'll have to look it up. We had snow on the ground in April a couple of years ago, a couple of 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope this is it. This has got to be it, man.
I ain't
So,
gonna
yeah.
lie, like when I saw it, I was like, "Oh snap! Here's gonna be another snowpocalypse over here. People gonna be stranded, leaving their cars in the middle of the highway. It's gonna look like the Return of the Living Dead out in Birmingham again." I was hoping it would. I'm glad it didn't turn out like that, but yeah, that was in the back of my mind.
Yeah, yesterday I was dealing with pollen because I had to work outside yesterday. It's just, I mean, you can almost see it in the air. And so I was hoping, well, maybe the snow will be even more helpful to scrape some of this stuff off. And then it occurred to me that my entire life we've been, you ever heard about yellow snow, AJ?
Mm-hmm.
Don't eat no yellow snow.
Yeah.
My whole life I thought that was just where somebody peed in it, and now it turned out it's that mixture of pollen and snow. I had yellow snow in a couple of my. It really did. It mixed in there when it started melting and sliding off. I thought that's gross. That's that's pretty nasty. Oh man, what a weekend! We got so much weird stuff. It is so weird in the news right now, and a lot of it still a lot. The core of our stories today are centered around the Iranian situation, and of course, I'm going to get you all up to speed on all of that. And why don't we start there? Then that kind of sort of runs off into the opinion sphere and all these national sort of talk show hosts, podcasters going at each other. It's the weirdest time to be an American, but an exciting time because things are moving forward and on all the fronts where we left you on last Friday. So let's go to Iran. Oil prices have been steadily coming down. It's not a crash. We'd love to see them crash down under $80. But right now, as of a little while ago, they were about $93. What's funny is the mainstream media, they usually have a stock ticker on the TV screens in the morning to track stocks, and it comes and goes depending on to what day part and what time of day. It's just a little update feature. Now they've started running an oil price ticker where you're able to track the oil price, which is good. But it's funny they don't do that when it goes down. They do it when it goes up. They do it when we're in crisis, and so they're all focused on it. It was down to about $93 just a little while ago as we were coming to air. That won't bring the price down at the pumps too much because they shot up to levels, I believe, in anticipation that the price was going to go to 100, and it's gone to 100 a couple of times during the last what has it been now, about 15 days, I guess, of this war. 15 days, and people want to hand wring and act like they're in a big crisis because it costs you an extra $15 to put gas in your car. And that sucks, but it's not like previous generations in this country that really had to sacrifice. This generation of squishy, neurotic, self-absorbed human beings they could not have pulled off World War II. There's no way. Now, I'm not talking about the men and women that are fighting. They're adults. It's this ecosystem that is just infecting people mentally. I mean, we're having a mental breakdown, a collective mental breakdown every day. And I'm seeing it right now with some people. That's what I was alluding to earlier, who I thought were, smart people, opinion leaders. Man, So back to Iran, and then it'll lead to that here in just a minute. Apparently, the president's going to announce a coalition of nations that are going to lead a sort of naval escort infrastructure around the strait to get the ships moving. More and more ships are starting to go through there now. It's going to take a few going through without incident because there's not really any great capacity for Iran to do this, but it'd be like knowing ahead of time that 9/11 was going to happen in terms of, I guess, money and your ship catching on fire. And just knowing that there's going to be a terror hit on a major skyscraper. Would you go into a skyscraper if you didn't know which one it was? The odds are very low that anything could happen, but you wouldn't take a chance. These companies with these billion-dollar vessels are not going to send them through there until they feel more comfortable despite the insurance situation and all of that. Well, some of them. So that may be announced today, and the market seemed to be anticipating that this is all a temporary situation, and they understand that. Dow's up 500 right now. NASDAQ's up 400. Percentage-wise, the NASDAQ's up higher today. So slowly it'll start to get back what it lost because the panicky people are less panicky. They need a few days to work out their emotions in these things. This weekend, of course, you heard that I guess you call them coalition forces. It's the United States for the most part. Iran, the Israelis are still targeting personnel in Iran. So we hit this Karg Island. And we've talked about Karg Island in the past. Years ago, I remember doing a whole segment or two on this because there were some proposals for whatever the latest thing Iran was doing to us for us to blockade Karg Island. It's always been a choke point for them because even like the Strait of Hormuz threatens China and Asia with fuel, Karg Island is where Iran exports 90% of its product, and it does mostly go to about 80% of it goes to China, another 20% goes to Europe, and we don't get much oil at all from that part of the world, but we're caught up in this worldwide global trading system, and we've given some thought to discussing that, whether we should have our own index, our own sort of market in the Americas at least. You can't even count on Europe nowadays. Even though they're the ones most vulnerable to this situation, some of them are still hesitant to step up. And so anyway, so we hit Karg Island, but did it in a smart way. So we didn't blow up the oil infrastructure. Now, why would we do that? You'd think, let's just take away the mullahs' ability to produce oil and get it to market. You take away their funding and they're dead. They choke off in a matter of, look at what's happening in Cuba right now. It's kind of a similar situation. But I think it's smarter not to destroy the infrastructure for several reasons. One, that's another supply disruption. Remember, oil is traded as a world commodity. So any disruption in any country, anywhere, and the whole stream, the whole process from getting it out of the ground to refining it to getting it to market, if there's any disruption along that supply chain, there's always a consternation on the part of the oil markets, and it sends prices up. It's a speculative market because they trade on futures, things out in the future that you don't know about. You're just trying to guess at. That's where a lot of the investing funding in the commodities markets happens. So not to get too deep in the woods, but what we did was took out because Karg Island was such an important asset to the Iranians, they had built up a huge military fortress all over the island, and the Republican Guard had a command center there, and they were using that to control their people and to control the internet and to dish out punishment. That wasn't even new. That predated the war. It had been going on for decades. So we just blew all those assets up, which tells you another thing it tells you is the intelligence on what is where on that island is impeccable. Assuming we did the task the way our CENTCOM is telling us our country did the task, that we left the pipelines, we left the storage tanks, we left the port really to be functional. And you do that for a lot of reasons. One, you don't want the world to have another disruption. But two, if you can ever separate these mullahs and this regime from the people, then the people have something to fall back on when they reestablish a government and try to free that country. They've got to have resources. If you destroy that infrastructure, it could take years to rebuild. In the timeline of that misery, any other crazy person could take over and continue to be a pariah state. But if you give them an off-ramp, if you give them being the free people of Iran, the people that want their lives and their traditions and their nation back, it's an amazing gift to the future if you can manage to dislodge the maniacs. Now let's talk about them for a minute. The other story that I cannot, I'll try to tell this story without giggling like a 15-year-old, and it's the context of it. You got to understand the context of it. So the president, our president, has been briefed on two things about the new Ayatollah. AJ, have you heard about this? The new Ayatollah, Junior, some people call him, he's the son of the old Ayatollah that got waxed in the first few hours of this operation. Apparently, old Ayatollah didn't want his son anywhere near power. They had discussed succession repeatedly while he was still alive, and he didn't want him in line. He thinks he's dumb and corrupt. But there's another little dirty family secret.
Wait a minute, hold on. You know it's bad, right? When someone who is really corrupt says that someone is really bad, dumb, and corrupt. It's like, wait a minute.
You know what it reminded me of, AJ? Dr. Evil from Austin Powers. Remember Scott?
Right.
He didn't want Scott. Scott was crazy. He's like, no, Scott, you're not ready. So I was sitting there in their turbans going, no, not him.
Yeah.
Not Abul. He is not ready.
What about the janitor? The janitor at least knows what to do. He knows how to clean up a mess. You know, if there's a mess that's ever been like made, a janitor can at least clean it up. This guy over here, I know he comes from my loins, but oh my goodness, like he's one chromosome just this. I'm like,
oh, dude. Also, Gladiator is one of my favorite movies of our time, and it's Marcus Aurelius saying, Commodus must not rule. Like, he didn't want his corrupt son in charge. No, give it to somebody else. Give it to anybody. Give it to Ahmed.
Give it to a woman. Muhammad. I don't care. Just don't give it to him.
Pick a Muhammad. Just not this one. But then it turns out the dark little family secret, and the president of the United States has been briefed on this as of this weekend, even if the guy's still alive, and we think he's potentially still alive. We've done the whole cardboard Ayatollah meme since this weekend, but the president of the United States has now been advised that the new Ayatollah is gay. So that's the secret. That was the thing that freaked out the other Ayatollahs. And you know what they do with gay people in Iran, right? It's like, we don't have to kill him. They'll throw him off the building, man. They'll just put that information out. That's the end of his reign.
We're going to have to change some of this. This feng shui is just not feng shuiing enough for me. I need some lavender. Where's the ting ting at?
Dude, hey, AJ. Yeah, how do you say ting ting in Farsi?
I don't know.
They're calling him the gay Ayatollah. I'm not kidding. And listen, if there's gay people listening, it's not about that. It's the situation. If he wanted to be the mayor or on the city council out on the West Coast in San Francisco, this wouldn't even be an issue. It'd probably be a selling point in the campaign. It's the Ayatollah. It's the guy. If there's one person on planet Earth that represents death to the gays, it's the Ayatollah. And it has been for 47 years. And then they just put a gay one in there. What do you mean he is gay? That's why.
Do you mean like happy gay or like bird song, hello my honey, hello my, like that type of gay?
Not like show tunes gay. I'm not sure they have show tune theater in Iran. Springtime for the Ayatollah. But maybe that's why he wasn't at the big meeting that also got blown up, because they're like, no, he cannot come. He is gay. What do you mean I am gay? You are gay. Do you remember that guy?
Why are you so gay?
Why are you so gay? We got to pull that up real quick. They're calling him the Fabatola. In the memes, man, there was one today of a cardboard Ayatollah being thrown off a roof. One where they'd put the gay flag on the cardboard. Oh, it's just been all day long.
Does he have to wear like the burqa that covers the face? It just shows the eyes. I
don't know if he wants to cross dress. If he's just going to put that whole bank teller mail slot uniform on where you can just see the eyes. I don't know how that works. It's a mixed up culture, man. I mean, they're into farm animals too, so I don't know. At least the Ayatollahs. Hold on, if you call somebody a goat over in Iran, are you flirting with them? I don't even know. Dang, spam call. These people do this crap.
That's the Ayatollah.
It's the Ayatollah. They're after me now. Death to America. Death to Leland Live. He is not gay. He is not gay. We tell you he is not gay. They're going to put the statement out.
Look,
If
I will stay with him tonight. I'll prove to you that he is not gay.
they're going after the guy, man. Is this psychological warfare or is this the truth, man? Is this the real deal? Is this the real part of this story? I don't know, but that came out and it's been all weekend long, man, or at least all day long, because I think that story came out this morning in the New York Post. So we're dealing with that. And then there's Tucker Carlson. Lord help us, Jesus. This espionage thing is something else. I'm going to break that down for you after the break because it's going to take me a little longer than a couple minutes to set that up. So let me tell you about the Knowles Group. While we're watching the markets and looking at what things are doing day to day, Danny and his team, and largely those are his sons who work there in the business, man, they got their eye on the prize. They're looking at the long term. And they can look out in the future because they can look far into the past. They've got all the data and the trends of how these funds perform. And that's very important when you're trying to really plan and not plan out of fear and not plan out of greed, where you're also trying to ride out these waves and these bubbles. That's how you get caught short-handed. Danny and his team have the techniques, the algorithms, and the policies and the history. And for Danny, man, he's as old as I am. We're the same age and went to high school together. Danny's got the experience of decades of working with these. He's seen it all over the years. And right now is the exact time where you need a professional advisor to help you with your stock trades. And that would be my longtime friend, Danny Knowles at the Knowles Group. So y'all reach out to him, see what they can do for you. TheKnowlesGroup.com, N-O-L-E-S, TheKnowlesGroup.com. Back here in just a minute. All right, y'all, 224 Leland Live, Talk 99.5. It's not often I get to introduce a new sponsor to the show. We really do stay full all the time. But I was so glad to welcome Tapco out of Birmingham, tapcobirmingham.com to the show. This is Michael's shop. This is where I was last week. I kept telling you I was down visiting downtown, got to hang out with Craig Westbrook. Craig and Michael, Craig's with, of course, Birmingham Broker. They're good friends and business partners as well. Tapco is a place unlike I've not seen. I mean, I just haven't in town. It is a vehicle service center, but it's on the higher end of things. That doesn't mean you need to be driving a Bentley or a Mercedes. It just means when you want the best of the best to service your car, and that is repairs, general service, or anything, and, or to solve some mystery problem that no one else can find, this is the place to go. They've got mechanics that just so enjoy what they do and being detectives and searching things out. They've got some really high-tech equipment to get rid of weird noises and warning lights that come on that, you know, you take it back to the dealership and then you're waiting in line and they're overcharging you and they can't really figure it out. That's the most frustrating thing, even on newer vehicles. Tapco can figure it out, man. They've even got these listening devices. I said, I got to bring my truck down there. There's a knocking that has started on my F-250. I think it's a strut, but I don't know. These guys can find it in seconds. It'd take me days to trace it down. They're just good. And Michael's just a genuine guy if you ever get to meet him when you come in with your vehicle. Now, if you've got a fleet, of course, and you've got to do routine maintenance on your fleet for your business, these are your guys. They really specialize in fleet management. They're doing work for the state of Alabama, for some of the law enforcement vehicles, and several companies around town. It's like I talk about all the time. You don't have time to be managing your fleet and doing all this detail work. You got to focus on income and revenue. Let them put you on their program where they can keep these things in shape. Something goes weird, they fix it and get it back on the road. They just, it's just a shop like you. You know, shops can vary in quality and style and sort of personality. Does that make sense? And I've been to many of them over the years, and some are just kind of sketchy and dirty, and you don't know what's going on. They're kind of vague with you, or they'll hang on to your car forever. Once you meet Michael, you'll see the personality of the business. They really enjoy getting. Let me put it this way: this is the shop mechanics take their stuff to when they can't figure it out. When some of the other shops around town get a crazy situation, they take it down to Tapco. Now, they're downtown Birmingham on 6th, very near our friends over at Iron City, close to Birmingham Broker and a lot of our sponsors down there. This is where you want to take your ride and get it turned around fairly, fair prices, fair diagnosis. If you're not quite sure, they'll just be straight with you on what it takes to get to the bottom of something. Don't you want to trust your mechanic? It's Tapco Birmingham, very premier and performance work. TapcoBirmingham.com, TAPCO, just like it sounds. It stands for Total Automotive Performance Company, I think, is what he told me. When they first started, all they were doing were the, supercharged high-end stuff, and he thought, we need to broaden out, just help everybody with our expertise, and that's how they really got going, and people love them. Tapco Birmingham. Y'all welcome them to the show, and if you got car issues, take them down there. Okay, a couple of minutes here before the break. I look online. I try not to read too much news on the weekends because I need the mental rest from it. But we got a war going on, and you never know what's going to develop over the weekend. So I find myself checking in nowadays, see what the latest, so I'm not behind by Monday morning. And I look down and I see Tucker Carlson has gone to, we still call it going on air, and told his audience that he believes that the government is about to put a federal case against him. And they've been spying on his text messages. So I thought for a minute. Now look, I used to love Tucker. I watched this show. I went straight home and watched the show at 7:00. It was an excellent show. Some of the work he's done since then has been stellar. I even got a chance to hear him speak live not too long ago as he came to town. And I do think he's a thoughtful guy, but he's really, either his ego and his self-importance has gotten him into a trap. But this is what we think happened. This is the internet and some government insiders speculating on what happened. We were spying on the Chinese, and not the Chinese, I'm sorry, they popped up on my screen. We were spying on the Iranians, and then it turns out that Tucker was talking to the regime and feeding them information while he was going to meet with the Trump White House. A lot of Trump supporters couldn't believe, with Tucker's approach to this whole issue, why they would even have him in the White House. And Trump team caught a lot of heat over that. But Trump sort of gave a wink and a nod and said, we know what we're doing. So the theory is the Trump administration used Tucker, fed him information that we weren't serious about going after the Iranians, that was just kind of a bluff. We're just trying to get them to the table on nukes. Tucker fed that back to the Iranians because the Trump administration knew they were talking to him, and that was part of the decoy before we went in. Tucker got used, and he could be in legal trouble. More on this on the other side when we get back. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Stay tuned. All right, y'all, 234, Leland Live, Talk 99.5, Michelson Laser Vision. Next up here on the show, Dr. Mark, Dr. Jennifer Michelson, both Michelson doctors there in the practice, dad and daughter. I love their story. I love the history of it. I love the challenge of it back in the day when Dr. Mark had he had the courage to make that huge investment to bring What was it had been tested. It wasn't experimental in that way, but market wise, it was a chance he took to provide the laser surgery here in Birmingham because it was new. You know how things are when they're new. Now I assumed people were were not too into it because I was so hesitant myself. He said people were lined up out the door the minute they turned the first laser on back in the late 80s. And they've been the premier laser surgery place in this state since. Now, every now and then you'll see crazy ads for some discount pop-up laser stuff. Dude, these are your eyes. I'd trust them to the best in the world. And that is the Michelson practice with the latest technology, decades of experience, and going to be there in the long haul to take care of you. They can even fix things from past situations where things didn't go that well with other places. Y'all talk to them, get that consult. If you're in glasses or contacts and you're a little bit hesitant, just at least have the courage to go check it out. That's what got me in the door, and it changed everything for me. I'm still 2015 and I love it. MichelsonLaserVision.com, MichelsonLaserVision.com. All right, a couple more thoughts about the Tucker situation because I just was trying to get my head around this weekend, and it's either one of the most tragic things ever or one of the funniest things ever. I don't think anything will be funnier than the Ayatollah today, though. But yesterday, this was pretty funny to me. So apparently, our intelligence agencies that spy on foreign communications, especially in the run-up to the war, knew that Tucker had a direct line to the administration in Iran. So does CNN, for that matter, because they've been invited in and they're straight doing propaganda for the Iranians right now. It's embarrassing for them. But Tucker's a little bit of a different animal, and he does work in the opinion space. So he's not a core true journalist, but he's sort of pulling out the Don Lemon defense. And what he did was he went on his podcast and acknowledged that his messages had been read, and he thinks he's about to be framed. Now, frame's kind of a loaded word. Is he being investigated or framed? Frame's when evidence is planted. If Tucker gave them evidence by talking or doing things, in other words, if he walked out of the White House and took information from the White House and fed it to the Iranians, that's straight up espionage. I mean, it's just straight espionage. If he did that, we don't know that he did that. If he was just lobbying the administration after being encouraged to do so by the Iranians, it falls in another category, and that could be a violation of the FARA Act. Some people call it the FARA Act. It's the Foreign Agent Registration Act. That just means if you're lobbying on behalf of another government, you have to register with our government. Now, Tucker's defense on that is, I haven't taken any money from these people. But even if he hasn't, that's not part of the FARA Act. If you're hired, that's a clear sign. But if you're lobbying for whatever reason, then you're in trouble. Now, will he be arrested? Will he be indicted? Has he done anything wrong? There is some gray area here. He does work in the opinion space, and he could legitimately maintain that he was trying to get information from both sides in a war conflict, and he's invited to the White House. Any journalist would take that invitation. Any opinion maker would take that invitation. So he might have some plausible deniability along those lines. This isn't like, this would be like if he went on one of the suicide bombings last week in our country with somebody sympathetic to Iran and participated in the event. We don't know that he participated yet. We don't know what he was saying to the Iranians. I do know that he seems to have had a screw loose over this issue in a very anti-Semitic way for a long time. And the sad thing is he is misleading a lot of well-intentioned conservatives and people that love the country and are very cynical about anything government does, Trump or not. And I understand that crowd, count myself among them a lot of times. But the history here with this country defies all that. The expertise our military has shown and the duration has been minimal. We're in completely control of this situation. This is not what the people that agree with Tucker Carlson build the situation as being. This is a potential freedom opportunity for that whole region and for the world, really, of a menace and a threat for the last 47 years. And we all understand that. The upside is tremendous. The upside to in a bunch of countries is tremendous if the United States military is successful. So until we know more about what Tucker was doing and saying, I'm going to withhold some judgment and see what kind of case they bring. I do not agree with people that say you can't he shouldn't be charged because they don't know the evidence either. They don't know to what extent Tucker would have fallen into this trap. But why would a guy that's intelligent as he is do this? Because I really think he's intelligent. I've always found him to be very smart and thoughtful, analytical. It used to be kind of haunting to me. I would say things on the radio and go home at night, and he was having a similar take, and I felt not a kinship, but I was like, oh, wow, we had the same viewpoint on that, and his show was much later than mine. But I'll tell you, I do know how people that can get in our space can get so confident or caught up in the power of their words or the surety they have about thinking about these issues. It's a weird job in a lot of ways because you're constantly, when you're having breakfast, when you're out on the town, when you're mowing the lawn, whatever you're doing in life, you're constantly thinking about these things. You're debating issues back and forth in your head because at some point you're going to be asked your opinion, and you better be ready to provide some facts and evidence to back that up. And I think sometimes people can just convince them. In other words, what's the old saying about politicians, that they're starting to believe their own headlines? You know, when they get good press, they start to believe that they're powerful. You know, famously, one of the Caesars, and I think it was Marcus Aurelius, had a person completely hired to follow him around and remind him that he was not a god. Humans can fall into that vanity trap and become so certain that it can lead you to believe your own hubris to the point where you become arrogant enough to think that the White House would need to know anything Tucker Carlson has to say about war strategy. Seriously, who did he think what insight does he think he has about this whole situation that the whole administration of Trump's team did not already have? Unless it's the reverse. Maybe he was feeding information from the Iranians to the president so the president would know, and that was his viewpoint. So I'm going to have to wait on some more stuff. I do think I think he got caught in a narcissistic trap, and if he was used by the White House this way, the way I put it online, I did do a post on it. I was like, this is the policy equivalent of getting pantsed in gym class. He got his pants yanked down around his ankles in front of everybody. And intellectually, there he stands. The worst thing that could happen for him is he's not charged. He cannot make a martyr case. He's not done, they try to go down the criminal road with him, but they let him stand there knowing he was duped by both the Iranians and the United States government at the same time. He got involved. In some ways, our business is to stand back and be as independent an observer as you can. And you're not on the battlefield. That's not your job. Your job is to call balls and strikes. And, none of us are perfect at it. It's why I don't go to political events anymore. I don't hang out with these people. I mean, and I got good friends that are in that business, but I don't want to be tainted by that. I don't want to feel disloyalty to them or the audience if I am. And I see a lot of talk show hosts and podcasters that completely get corrupted by that, by not maintaining some sort of distance so you can think. You got to back off so you can think about what you're presenting. And we'll all screw it up. If he just said something on the air that was goofy, that's one thing. But the dude went into the White House and got played like a $2 banjo. And if he got right back on the phone, this is speculation, but if he got right back on his phone and went and called the mullahs and told them what Trump was saying, that could be prison time. That's very, very serious stuff. We'll wait and see how it plays out. I think he thinks it's serious enough that he decided to go on air and get out ahead of it. And I don't celebrate it. It was funny to me, but I don't celebrate it. I think there are a lot of people that were strong opinion leaders, particularly on the conservative, Republican / independent side of the political balance that we have in this country, that are really, they've gone into some kind of craziness, some kind of mania that perhaps their own success has gotten to them. We see Hollywood actors do that. They spin out and get distracted and get into weird stuff and lose their minds and their careers. Some people get to a level where they feel unapproachable. You need to maintain some of that in a business like this. All right, let's go to Joe and Coleman. We'll start with some phone calls tonight. We'll talk about Tucker a little bit longer. I still got Cuba to get to and some other stuff. Joe, what's on your mind, man?
Well, I was trying to collect my thoughts while you were talking, because this has been all weekend. I had Saturday where I work, nothing's on the radio, so that's kind of my day when I work on Saturdays, to listen to a bunch of podcasts, And so I was listening to one with PragerU I'm on their subscription list, and it was an interview with a guy who was the co-founder, not Shapiro, but the other guy. And he had been on like a 10-month sabbatical, and he had come back. So when Charlie Kirk had been assassinated, he had come back.
Yeah.
Before that, he was already on sabbatical, apparently. And, he explained some – and I listened – I was one of the first people to subscribe to Tucker's thing whenever he got fired from Fox. And I paid the year subscription. Now, I canceled it after the first year, but I would listen to I listened to him interview Nick Fuentes. And, I had an open mind. And I still try to Sean Ryan and Rogan, I listen to those guys. I try to have an open mind about the people they have on. I guess the thing with Tucker that started to really rub me the wrong way is not so much him going down the road that he's went, because he's went every time I would get a news feed or some kind of email, it was something about Netanyahu is the devil, or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But what really irritated me was there was a lack of sensitivity to the issue. And that's what rubbed me the wrong way. A lot of these guys, they talk about it in the Zionist movement and how, Israel's government is not the same as the people of Israel or the citizens, just like our government's corrupt too. We got a bunch of corruption in our government. But there's a lack of sensitivity that did not take place there. And I see that's one reason that Shapiro and Levin and a lot of these people that are of Jewish background and Jewish faith, this is a really sensitive issue for them. And so the fact that there's no fragility with the way that Tucker has treated it, I think that's what turned me off more than anything about it. And that's what I listened to the guy that was being interviewed, that I was saying, the founder, James somebody, I think was his name, or Jeremy somebody. And he was talking about, he said, you've got two different factions. One of them was Candace Owens, was hired by them for a while. And he said that, Candace Owens had said at one point whenever they hired her for marketing, because of her marketing ability, that she was going to be the biggest podcast of all time. She said that when she worked for them. And, so be it. She is. She is now. And so I think her motives seem to be different than Tucker's. I think she's a media whore. I just do.
I do too. I think Tucker's an ideologue, and some people are. She and Megyn Kelly are doing it for the clicks. Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing: that they were talking about the ideology that Tucker has, and you see, because he's got people that are working. One reason he got invited to the White House, Lewis, he's got people that are there that he's helped get hired.
That's
Him
true.
And J.D. Vance were best buds.
There's a sense of loyalty there. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. There's a sense of loyalty to him, but he's got an ideology that's very much on the Bannon side of things, where he is a very populist in the sense of that's his liberal side. He's very populist, almost a theocracy. You see what I'm saying? Is what he believes in, almost a theocracy. So what is the thing that he has in common with the other side, the Islamists? They believe in a political theocracy, but he believes in a social conservative, you see what I'm saying, type agenda too. So he's almost on the Bernie Sanders side, populism side of things, but he's on the social conservative side of things with the conservative side of things. And I think that's kind of the agenda that he's pushing. And with that, you're starting to see a lot of weird things intertwine and interact. One thing in that podcast I thought was a very good point that he made. And Tucker's, and I'm just as big about conspiracies now as anybody, because you never know what's around the corner or what.
Since 2020, I have to at least hear him out. Yeah.
But when you listen to Tucker's stuff, and now that the 9/11 was a con job, it was an inside job. But was the moon landing real? You know what I mean? I mean, this type of stuff and what he talks about in this podcast makes a lot of sense. He says Tucker has been, and people on that side have been tearing down metaphorical statues of our society and our culture, and it makes a lot of sense. And so I say this, people that want to take the Judeo-Christian part out of Judeo-Christian, you can't do that to America. Whenever in 1693, whenever slavery was introduced to Jamestown, a year later, after slavery finally comes to Jamestown, a year later, the Pilgrims land. And the Pilgrims come as missionaries to be that ideology that one day will remove slavery. Just a year later, God provides that. So there was a covenant made with God, and it was a Judeo-Christian covenant. It was not a Christian covenant without the Judeo part of it. And so that's one thing that people are trying to remove that and trying to separate that. And I think we need to be careful about. There's a lot of information out there that's not wrong, but it's disinformation. It's not complete.
Well, and some of it gets I'm listening to you, Joe. Some of it gets so philosophical and so theological, and you could intellectually debate those things forever. And I've got a whole different worldview in that we're in a bar fight, and I don't need Socrates right now. I need somebody with a knife and a broken beer bottle and a gun, because we're dealing with maniacs that kinetically in the physical world have killed plenty of Americans, have caused damage and chaos, and they're about to be neutralized and giving others, potentially 90 million people, the chance to be free, and the state of Israel and the Saudi Arabians and the whole region, if you don't have a fatalistic end times theocracy that is hell-bent on violence and terrorism. There will always be that from that faith system, period. It's in the text. They have to read the book. But at some point, it doesn't have to have a government and a military. It doesn't have to have nuclear missiles and short-range missiles and the terrorism ability that they have. And that's what they built, and that's what we're destroying. And I think that's a bigger story and appeals to a wider base of humanity than some of these other arguments that we're having right now.
Yeah. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it tear Christianity, the American sense of Christianity, apart. I never thought in my lifetime that there would be a Christian-Muslim alliance against the Jewish people.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
But here's what happens.
And then you've got the silence of the mainstream evangelical church right now that is feeding into this. Christians themselves don't know their inheritance in this country. They don't know that they're going to struggle to find space to worship if you are overtaken by forces that want to get rid of Christianity. And those forces are everywhere. And it's happening in real time right here in this country. London's already fallen.
Well, and you heard, who was it out there on the West Coast? I mean, one of the great mind, he said, if anything, he said, other than any other thing, the reason that America is allied with Israel is because it is the greatest Western civilized nation. It's the only Western civilized nation in that region. And our interests align with their interests. And they always have. And so we can talk about how we have this Semitic Jewish Zionist influence that's running America and doing everything that the Jews want to do, or we can also say to the point, well, our interests align with theirs, and they always have.
All right, man. Look, hey, Joe, good call. Excellent call as usual. I've got to hit this break, man. It's getting late. Douglas Cooling and Heating. I told you last week I was kidding around. I didn't know it'd be this extreme. You need both sides of your system right now. Man, I got the heat wide open, especially here in the studio. I even got a fire going in the fireplace up at the house, man. We hope it's the last one of the year, but we'll sure enough be air conditioner full throttle pretty soon. And it's not too late. It's never really too late to get yours tuned up and checked out. You should do it. It's just being a good homeowner. You got to take care of that mechanical part of your house. My company, and they've been my company for 16 years, is Douglas Cooling and Heating. Simple website to reach out to them. CallDouglas.com. That's all you have to remember. There's a number. There's the way to reach them. They've got a plumbing division, and they can do all of it. Installs, emergency work, second opinions, and good basic twice-a-year cleaning to make sure your system is good to go when we get into the real thick of summer. Call Douglas.com, license number 2017181, calldouglas.com. Y'all, Hueytown Pawn, until Tommy calls me and tells me, hey, I sold all the Glocks, I'm going to tell you about these law enforcement Glocks that they have at Hueytown Pawn right now for $3.99. That's a good deal on a Glock any way you slice it. These have been pre-owned, but pre-owned by professional carriers, that is, law enforcement agencies. Tommy has found a program where he's able to go out and get these when they go offline with whatever agency is cycling in some new handguns and personal carry weapons for their officers. They will take these guns, some of which have never been fired. Some are still in the box. Some of them were just carried around for years, and he puts them on sale. $3.99, all three calibers. You got the 9mm, the 40, and 45s right now at Hueytown Pawn while they last. He'll get a whole bunch of these, put them at deep discounts, really to get you over to the store so you can look around, get to know them, and then look around while you're there. There's so many good values and things and all different kinds of gun ownership, from hunting stuff and all the accessories that go with that to personal carry, tactical weapons, and then, of course, a lot of pre-owned stuff that they've taken in under their pawn business. Y'all go see him. It's a cool resource. He's a great guy to get to know, just a charming, affable guy that'll do right by you and help you out, help you track things down. Hueytown Pawn, I call it a honey hole when they first came on. I didn't even know they were over there. This is great. Over on Brook Lane Drive, drive over to Hueytown and see them. Brook Lane Drive, $3.99 for a Glock, almost new Glock, right now while they last at Hueytown Pawn on Brook Lane Drive in Hueytown. All right, maybe we can do a couple of calls or two, at least one before the top of the hour. We'll go to Daryl on a cell phone. What's up, Daryl?
Yeah, that's good money. Yeah, you done took care of all this year, and nobody would have did the job. I think Leland gonna hold me.
Hey, I don't think. Put Daryl on hold real quick. I'm afraid he's gonna say something. I like Daryl. I like Daryl, but he didn't know I went to him. He was talking to somebody. Let's get Randy in here. We'll go back to Daryl in a minute. Randy, what's up, buddy?
Hey,
Hey.
just want to say that the 51st state, the United States, is not going to be Greenland. It's not going to be Canada. It's going to be Cuba.
Maybe. I was just about to get
The
to
whole,
that. Yep.
Yeah, the whole island right now is totally out of power. Can you imagine 11 million people without power?
Well, they rioted all weekend, and the whole grid just collapsed. About an hour ago, it got reported. It's been coming on and off, but it is completely collapsed. They will not have power or food. The regime has collapsed on its own.
And you know, they've already burnt down the communist headquarters.
Yep.
And so they're on. And you know, what really disturbs me more than anything is we're going to have 11 million communists on the voter rolls.
Well, we already got California, so how much worse can it get in the city of New York? Listen, some of those people have lived in it. They're not communists. The only communists are ignorant people that haven't lived under it. The people that have lived under it hate it, despise it.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's like socialism, what's going on in New York.
Yeah, no doubt.
This is crazy. It's crazy. And it's communist Islamic radicals. That's what's trying to take over the world.
There you go, Randy. All right, we got stuff.
No difference than the Nazis.
We got the top of the hour back here in a minute, y'all. Hot show already. Stay tuned.